From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for The Debate.
Debate at 9, powered by Sarah.
IS officer Alapan Bandyopadhyay has been at the centre of a fierce Centre versus West Bengal government battle. As his deadline to report to the central government ended, Mamata challenged the centre with her move.
In order to utilize his valuable experience, it is proposed that Shri Alapan Bandyopadhyay may be appointed as Chief Advisor to Honourable Chief Minister with effect from 1/6/2021 from tomorrow, for a period of 3 years.
In a great show of defiance, Mamata has refused to let go of her closest bureaucrat and report to Delhi. Central government is in all likelihood preparing for action.
There was a massive standoff on the same issue, which the central government had asked Mr. Bandyopadhyay to report at DOPT today at around 10 a.m. but he did not report. Now, if sources are to be believed in the central government is looking forward to take actions against him and file charge sheet against Mr. Bandyopadhyay.
Never before in the history of India has the fight between the centre and state escalated to this level.
No consultation, nothing, no reason, nothing. Only political vendetta works. Why you don't like Mamata Banerjee, that's why. Why you are defeated, that's why. Why you know that you are nowhere in Bengal, that's why. Do you think that they should not respect the people's mandate?
It started with a fight over cyclone review meeting, and it has come to a bureaucrat now. Is this face-off likely to get bigger? Let's debate.
And joining us on the debate are Aparajita Sarangi, National Spokesperson and Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha. We'll just go across to her. We've just lost the line. We'll reconnect her. Rajat Sethi, Political Analyst and Advisor to the Chief Minister of Manipur on the debate. Professor Manojit Mandal, Spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress, live from Kolkata. Subir Bhaumik, Senior Journalist, live on the debate. So what we'll do is we have enough time and we will go between each panelist. So I request our panelists not to speak over each other. I will give enough time to all of them. Okay, Aparajita Sarangi is also patched. Now, Aparajita Sarangi, you yourself have been a central government officer, and you know how these things work, right? Is it now turning out to be an ego battle, Aparajita? Is it turning out to be an ego battle when a bit in a counter to the centre's order seeking the West Bengal Chief Secretary's deputation, Alapan Bandyopadhyay has now been appointed as the Chief Advisor to the Chief Minister, with Home Secretary H.K. Dwivedi being appointed as the Chief Secretary. Is it now turning out to be an ego battle between the centre and the state?
A very good evening. I would certainly not say that this is an ego battle. See, Mr. Bandyopadhyay was an All India Service Officer, and All India Service Officers are guided by 1954 rules and also by All India Service Conduct Rules of 1968. Now, there were two occasions where he demonstrated his insubordination to the higher authority, his disrespect for the higher authority, which is an absolute violation of the All India Service Conduct Rules 1968. Number one, when the Honourable Prime Minister had gone to West Bengal, it was his duty. It's not a question of his accompanying the Chief Minister or getting guided by what she says. It was his duty as the All India Service Officer, as the Chief Secretary of the state, to come and pay respects to the Prime Minister and participate in his meeting, right? And let me tell you that the instruction, rather the tour program, had already been circulated, and he cannot say that he was not aware of that. This is one. And number two, another example of insubordination was today, by 10 a.m. he had to report in the Department of Personnel and Training. He did not do so. So I think The central government is well within their right to actually take any action against Mr. Bandyopadhyay. This was not the way to behave. This is an absolute disrespect to the authority, and this is an absolute example. This is an example of insubordination. So I think we need to condemn, and this is not the way the government officers need to behave. See, it's not a question of Prime Minister and Mamata Banerjee ji here. Let me be very clear. She decides to make Prime Minister wait. She decides to show her disregard for the institution of the Prime Minister. It is her problem. It is her personality problem. All of us are well aware of that. I think the entire nation is well aware of that. It is about the conduct of Mr. Bandyopadhyay. Bandyopadhyay was a government servant and he should have behaved in a certain manner. The Prime Minister of the country has gone. He just cannot show disregard to the institution, to the seat of the Prime Minister. That's the whole issue.
Okay, I'll let Manojit respond to that, and I'm just adding a question. Manojit, you can respond to both. Now, is it due process or deliberate subversion of common practice when the government issues an order on deputing the West Bengal Chief Secretary to the Department of Personnel and Training, but was still made the Chief Advisor to the West Bengal Chief Minister?
No,
Is this a question?
Niranjan, we
No,
are
to him,
hearing about
Manojit.
what happened.
Manojit is answering.
The question is for me. Now we have been debating about what Mamata did and how Mamata followed the standard protocol of meeting the Prime Minister. And after Mamata's press conference day before yesterday and 2 days later, I think it is unambiguously clear what is what. Now again I repeat what I was doing day before yesterday. I will not go by the narrative of BJP. Let the office of the Prime Minister come out and say whatever the Chief Minister is saying or writing is not true to the facts, right? This is between the two highest office of the two democratically elected governments. One is at the center, the other is at the state. So the political players, including myself and my very honorable friend from BJP, I think are completely irrelevant. Now coming back to the issue of the order, issuance of order, I think my good friend from BJP, since she served as the All India IS officer, she will know that any order passed by any competent authority must be reasoned, just, without any malice. Now I come, why the order of the 28th May is with malice and caprice? The Chief Minister initiated the process of consultation about the Chief Secretary on 10th of May through her letter. That process of consultation achieved the finality on 24th of May with the issuance of order of extension of Mr. Alapan Bandyopadhyay by none other than the Prime Minister office. Now suddenly within 4 days, the same Prime Minister office reverses that particular order without following the due process of law. I mean, it clearly reflects that this order is not just unilateral, unreasoned and unjust, but coming out of a tyrant government without a reason or without any right. Right? Now the question of insubordination, madam. The Chief Secretary is supposed to report to the Chief Minister. He accompanied the Chief Minister with the meeting, government to government meeting that took place briefly for a very brief period of time. Other meeting that you are referring to, I again repeat and we are continuously repeating, is a political meeting where a political entity is present, which was certainly chaired by the Prime Minister, and the Chief Minister of the state, since it was a government to government meeting, chose not to attend that meeting. Insubordination doesn't happen that way, took the permission of the Prime Minister and accompanied the Chief Minister where he should be. That is the standard protocol. Now you let me know, madam, how did you reverse your own order within 4 days? Did you say that because of insubordination, now you are alleging that your order is transferred? Now again, you are saying the central government can take action to a retired government. That's well within your limit, and that's been happening for the last 4 or 5 years. We don't mind that. That people are judging, people are seeing what is happening in this country. Does anything happen with reason and rhyme? I have given a single example of how the order of 28th May, without any consultation, without any reason, and completely unjust. This doesn't happen this way, especially when you have such a big government. I want to understand, why are the senior IAS officer, how did they advise the PMO? The same government achieving the finality because of the initiation of process of dialogue, consultation as per the procedure of law, 1954 law, achieving finality 24th, the same order has been reversed within 4 days without consultation. I mean, this is brazen misuse of constitutional authority. The government is completely appearing as a coercive and tyrannical government, and we have got every right to defy that tyrannical and completely coercive government. Constitution doesn't say that the center and the state will have this kind of coercive relationship. It's an idea of cooperative federalism, and this doesn't reflect any kind of cooperation whatsoever, not just in terms of optics, but also in terms of law and constitutionality. It is a completely void and invalid order.
Let me get Rajat Sethi on that. Rajat Sethi, when the centre on the 24th of May approved Mamata Banerjee's request for a 3-month extension, a point that Manojit was making, on 24th you approved for a 3-month extension, but yes, there was a U-turn on to shift Alapan Bandyopadhyay to Delhi, and Aparajita Sarangi in her first opening response has spoken about the reasons, right? Now, I want to ask you, look at the optics of it, right? I'm purely on the question of optics. Now, you allowed him to stay on, and then, for whatever reasons, you're now calling him back at a time when the state is battling the aftermath of Cyclone Yas, one of the worst affected states on COVID, still battling COVID-19. Right, Rajat? You look at the optics, and let me tell you the narrative. Let me tell you what people are discussing. Here are two people, right? Mamata Banerjee and the Chief Secretary. Both of them have lost their family members to COVID in the last few days, last 15 days. I'm only asking you purely on the perspective of optics.
That's true.
Only on the purely on the issue of optics, Rajat.
Let me correct you, Niranjan. Let me correct you on the optics front. See, this is a long-drawn political battle initiated by Mamata Banerjee, because perhaps she has higher ambitions, which is absolutely fine in politics. You can be competitive about it. But there is a very delicate thread of federalism which is at the heart of our constitution, and it has to be preserved and respected all throughout in order to keep the democracy in a functioning state. What she has been trying to do is try and behave as the Prime Minister of West Bengal, and this is where the problems start rising up. She doesn't want to follow any instructions, and there is a constant trend line that you can observe, not just from this instance, but from several instances in the past. Look at how did she defy CBI. She did not allow CBI officials to even come into Kolkata and conduct regular searches, etc. We all knew, this was prior to election, by the way, we all knew what she did by doing a dharna inside CBI office, so much so that the Supreme Court and the other courts had to come down heavily on her, saying that what she is doing is actually should not be accepted. And then you look at what happened in the Yas cyclone incident. It was a total mockery of the constitutional position of the Prime Minister. B, had her heart been beeping around cyclones, we all have her report card on Amphan cyclone. Amphan cyclone was a central issue where crores and crores of rupees were siphoned off by TMC workers. Where was her heart paining and beeping for the victims of the Amphan cyclone? Of course, we all know, and the optics is crystal clear. Mamata Banerjee is playing with the constitution. She's playing with the delicate fabric of the principle of federalism that is so critical to allow states to function effectively, efficiently with the central overall guidance and control. Now, what she doesn't want to understand right now is that if she falls in line, if she listens to the Prime Minister, perhaps her political ambitions of 2024 or somewhere in between, I don't know when, she's trying to launch her national campaign. She perhaps thinks that this could be the right optics to bank upon or to cash in. But let me tell you, people of this country are pretty clever. They understand, they see things through. Who is playing with the Constitution here? Who is trying to really attack India's fault lines when it comes to such kind of tense relationships between the center and the state. I believe, this is going to carry on and on. Her shenanigans are going to carry on and on. We saw what she did in COVID review meetings with the Prime Minister. She has a habit of doing it. Any educated, well-intentioned Indian who has India's constitution in the heart will absolutely should come out and call out Mamata Banerjee for all the shenanigans that she's trying to do, and a very, very dangerous game that she's trying to play with the Indian constitution here.
Let me allow Subir Bhowmik to respond to that. Subir Bhowmik, is this the time to fight with the centre when the initial estimate of damage from Cyclone Yas has been pegged at 20,000 crore rupees? And you can respond to whatever he has said. You can respond to Rajat.
Well, there are three things here that I like to point out. If it's a problem with Mamata Banerjee, and people at the center have a right to feel the way they think, whatever Rajat has said, there are people who feel that way, and it's fine. Why drag Alapan into it? He's the chief secretary. He has lost a family member. He's lost his own brother. We have been friends, actually. He served in Anandabazar Patrika, before he became an IS officer, and his brother died recently. Now, how can a chief secretary who has been appointed, and given an extension for 4 months, after consultation between the state and the center, just because the Prime Minister may be upset for valid reasons, I don't know, about Mamata Banerjee's conduct, why then are you shooting your guns at an officer, after having given him 3 months extension, and it demands, under the very laws that Aparajita Didi was saying, it demands that you go in for a fresh consultation and you actually say where you want to take him and all that. We also understand these laws. The point is, you suddenly call him to Delhi, and then what he has done? He has done a smart thing. He has just retired, because today was his day of retirement. He has now decided not to get into this fight. It's very valid from Alapan Bandopadaya's point of view. If I was an officer, I would do the same thing. Why should I get into this Modi versus Mamata battle? So I'm supposed to retire on 31st May. My deputation is the cause of the problem, because then I'm dragged to Delhi, and then my parent government where I'm working does not like it, so I better retire and take off. Then if the government decides to appoint me as a chief advisor in whatever capacity, it's up to the government. So I think, he has played the best, he has gone for the best possible option as an officer. And here I have to mention two more things. People are talking of optics. People are talking of Mamata Banerjee's national ambitions. I can tell you one thing for sure, and take it from me because I know her for a long, long time. You may fault her on many grounds, but don't fault her on the sense of realism that she has. She knows she can win Bengal and trounce Modi and her people here. She also knows that she can't make a mark in, Delhi at the moment. Like Modi made a mark in Delhi by projecting the Gujarat model, Mamata will have to first project a Bengal model, whatever it is. She has a couple of plus points to highlight, and she also has a couple of minus points to get over. And therefore, I don't think, as an observer of Indian politics and as a Bengali, I know for a fact that Bengal is not India, okay? She can win Bengal. She understands Bengal better than all these BJP guys who are camping here from Delhi. And it's all proved. And people are talking of Amphan, people in the Amphan areas who are affected has voted for her party. So if they are so upset, and if corruption was such a huge issue that BJP made it out to be, it would have been reflected in the ballot paper. At least the BJP can't say that this is a rigged election like they have been accusing other elections about. This was an election heavily monitored by, election commission. There was the central forces were here. And therefore, if the people in South 24 Parganas and all these areas have voted for TMC, then it is a clear evidence that, these whole allegations about corruption and all that has not stuck. Now, for whatever reason, they have voted for Didi. So, the point I'm trying to make here is that, I don't think she is doing all this to actually, go to Delhi and start a national campaign. People who think that's what she's doing, they don't understand Bengal and they don't understand Mamata. She is doing this to consolidate her position in Bengal. Make it a fact, she is turning it into a Bengal versus Delhi battle. And nothing gets the Bengali working her adrenaline working, then this kind of confrontation. Bengal is different from Orissa. Yeah, Naveen Patnaik is a different person and Mamata is a different person. Their environment, their milieu is different. Bengali politicians, you look at the number of great Congress stalwarts who have had fights with the high command and have broken off. C.R. Das, Subhash Bose, the list is long. Even Pranab Mukherjee left Congress and went off. Ajay Mukherjee, Mamata is the latest in the line. So this confrontation is politics, Dilli ka dekha na wo, mujhe na wo kind of thing. This is part of the Bengali, DNA. So she is playing that politics here to consolidate her own position. If people think she's using this to, a national platform, Prashant Kishore may want that. Mamata will be too much to expect that she will fall for that now. She has to consolidate her position in Bengal because make no mistake, BJP may have lost the election, but they have got 77 seats. The RSS has a lot of organizational expansion in the last few years. And if she has to really, keep things under control here, she has to give attention to all these factors. I don't think she has time for Delhi. So if people think that, she's looking for Delhi, they are mistaken. Last point I'll quickly make, Niranjan, is that, I think Delhi is actually playing into her trap. And Delhi may have a different game altogether. This may be because BJP is a master at diversion of the issues, So this may be a very subtle game plan to shift the attention from COVID mismanagement, which is, huge, to a political battle and project Mamata as the archetypal villain. Constitution nahi manti hai, ye nahi karti hai, wo nahi karti hai. Take the whole attention of the country away from the huge COVID mismanagement, even in states where BJP is in power, and actually, set because headline management and media attention has been the stellar point of this government. So I think this also could be one of the purpose of provoking this, this kind of a confrontation.
Yeah, one second.
So both sides are provoking confrontation, and both sides tend to gain from it. Thank you.
Let me take that question to Aparajita. Aparajita, if that was the game, and Subir Bhaumik, is a senior journalist, so he's been reporting from Bengal for a very long time, right? Now, if that is the game, this is a game that's been played before, isn't it? It's a game that's been played before. And let me make a point, Aparajita. You yourself, you've been an IAS officer. I have 3 or 4 precedents, and I want you to respond to that, okay? Is it true or not that in Bihar, Nitish Kumar appointed a 1981 batch IAS officer, Anjani Singh, as advisor to the Chief Minister a day after his retirement as Chief Secretary in 2018? Example 1. 2. Is it not true that Neelam Sawhney, retired as the Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh after getting 2 extensions, was immediately appointed the principal advisor to Jagan Mohan Reddy? Point 3. Is it not true that in Odisha, when Chief Secretary Asit Kumar Tripathi retired, he was immediately appointed the principal advisor to Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik on regional development, tourism, agribusiness and industry, etc., etc. So I'm saying there is a precedent to it, but now there is a threat also of action and a possible charge sheet against this officer. Is it needless confrontation? You can respond to Manoj.
See, there are 2 issues that we are talking of, and these are separate issues. All my esteemed panelists and me, I think we are all confused. Number 1 is that the so-called tussle between the seat of the Prime Minister and the seat of the West Bengal Chief Minister. This is one part. And the other part is the conduct of Mr. Bandyopadhyay. Let us not mingle the 2 issues. Now, as far as the first part is concerned, the tussle between the 2 seats, let me tell you that Mamata Banerjee ji's behavior smacks of arrogance and somewhat, I would say, immaturity. She wants to be in the newspaper columns all the time, and that is why she tries to behave in such a manner. There have been umpteen number of instances. In fact, my dear friend Rajat ji just pointed out some of the issues that have taken place, that have happened in the past. I mean, I can very well recall the interaction of the Honorable Prime Minister with the DMs. The DMs had been called to share their success stories, and it was goodness of the Prime Minister's office that they thought it would be violating the protocol if they did not call the chief ministers. So they called the chief ministers too. Interaction with the DMs of the Prime Minister in presence of the CMs. Now here, no other CM, no non-NDA CM who was present there created a ruckus, but this lady created a ruckus even there. So I think there is some degree of insecurity also in her. So this is one part. Let us not mix the two. The Prime Minister went to West Bengal to participate in a governmental program. You know, the review of YAS impact on West Bengal is a completely official matter. My friend from TMC said it was a political meeting, why Bandyopadhyay should go. No, not at all. Not at all. I was part of the bureaucracy for 24 years. When the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister reviews the extent of damage in a natural calamity, it is always an official review. So he had gone for an official review and the Chief Secretary had to go and meet him. Now I come to the next issue, that is the conduct of Bandyopadhyay. Here the issue is of the conduct of Bandyopadhyay. In fact, today's debate is centered on the conduct, on the insubordination of Mr. Bandyopadhyay. Let us not talk of the tussle. In fact, this lady has been behaving like this and she would be behaving like this for whatever reasons, well known to her, best known to her. We are not interested to get into that. However, as far as Bandyopadhyay is concerned, he just cannot break the protocol. He has to follow the protocol. You know, I was an IAS officer for 24 years, as I mentioned earlier. And you know, we just cannot go against the All India Service Conduct Rules 1968. This is what is taught in the Lal Bahadur Shastri of administration. So I think Mr. Bandyopadhyay should have behaved properly. He would have gone to the Prime Minister, paid his courtesies and participated in the review. It was his duty to inform or rather seek the permission of the Chief Minister or rather apprise her. Seeking permission, I think, would not have been right. He should have apprised the Chief Minister. And today also, when he was called to the Department of Personnel and Training, he should have come at 10 o'clock. Okay. He should have reported. He should have brought a representation.
Can Manojit respond to you?
He should have mentioned why he could not attend the Prime Minister's meeting. That is what he should have told.
Yes, I will.
You know, he would have told that the CM did not allow him to meet
1 second.
the Prime Minister. So, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous why he would not come at 10 o'clock today. That's it.
Okay.
So, I think these are two separate issues. We should talk about these two issues separately.
Okay.
No, it is proven beyond any reasonable doubt how an honorable lady from BJP treats the Chief Minister of the state, lady, and her behavior. Madam, this is not the way that we address even our honorable Prime Minister. Whatever he was saying against the Chief Minister during the election campaign,
I never
everyone
called
has
her a
seen
woman.
it.
No, lady.
Now you don't need to.
With respect,
No. You don't need to get worked up now, madam.
Okay.
Wait, madam. Wait. Don't need to get worked up.
With
Let
all
me speak.
regards for you, please check your English.
Let me speak.
Okay, Aparajita, let me speak.
I always mentioned lady.
Okay, let him speak.
I know, madam.
Lady connotes
I understand, madam. That much of English I understand.
Respect, sir. Lady connotes
I understand.
Lady is the antonym of gentleman.
Yes, can I speak?
Yes.
Will you allow me to
You should know
speak?
this.
Will you give me some respect to speak at least? Will you some
Please.
respect to speak?
Please.
That's not the way. You have been in the bureaucracy, madam. The bureaucracy is 200 years old. It started with Trevelyan and Macaulay. You know it. So these are courtesies. Please maintain that. Maintain this courtesies even on a TV debate. You people are taught how to be civil, but you are behaving in a very uncivil manner. I'm sorry to say this, right? Now coming back to the issue of, they are saying that Mamata is insecure. This is again, are you people living in a kind of Lulu or La La land? She was blessed by the people not even a month ago. Thumping majority. She is saying that she is insecure. You have let out the CBI against all her ministers. They went to her house to raid. You saying that you are maintaining cooperative federalism? You bulldoze every other legislation in the parliament without consulting the opposition. Do you take the opposition on board when you conduct this kind of meeting, governmental meeting at the center? And why only single MLA? Yes, you want to have a review meeting? Call the MLAs of all the affected areas. No, again, I have called, madam, this is again uncivil, quite uncivil of you, madam. No. It's not expected from a former bureaucrat. Uncivil, let me speak. Uncivil behavior.
Aparajita, hear him out.
Uncivil behavior coming from a former civil servant. No,
Aparajita, hear him out.
Niranjan, you have to moderate.
What is this?
I was lecturing about civility.
Hear him out, Aparajita, hear him out.
Civility.
Aparajita, hear him out.
Lecturing about courtesy. You can't.
I want to hear him out. Yeah.
You can't barge in like that, madam. You are a member of parliament, very honorable member of parliament. And
Manojit, go ahead. Manojit, go ahead. She stopped. She's yielded. Go ahead.
Right now, yeah, I will.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, the fact remains that no, you can't disturb me. Please can't disturb me, madam. I know. The fact remains that you can't still digest the defeat. Why are you such a bad loser? Wait for 5 more years. Be constructive. I want to ask one particular question, madam. You are from BJP. BJP is known for chintan, introspection, all kinds of things. Ask yourself, that is your party matter. Did you ever think why this kind of trounced happened in Bengal? Despite the fact that you wanted 200 more seats, the answer is no. You have failed in every sense of the term, even in COVID handling. You talk of COVID meetings, madam. Please let me know what you have done in the last 1 year to check what is happening in the country now. It's a disaster. People are dying on the streets. People are being cremated on the street. That's a separate matter altogether. You talk of federalism, how you are using ED, CBI, and all other agencies at your command against again you have come. Madam, this is not proper. This is uncivil. You are a civil servant. You are a civil servant. Once a civil servant is always a civil servant.
Let him speak, Aparajita. Give him 30 seconds more. Give him 30 seconds more.
You can't disturb me.
Give him 30 seconds. Give him 30 seconds. Give him 30 seconds.
Give me 30 seconds. What I am saying is amply clear. Mr. Bandyopadhyay's conduct is more than impeccable. The person who was never called in for deputation on the day of his retirement is being called for deputation, revising your own order. People will laugh at you if you try to defend this indefensible. On the day of his retirement, now after 5 p.m., 31st May, this person, according to law, is deemed to have retired. You want to take action against him? Please go ahead. There is a country, there is a law, and more importantly, there is a law of the people, people's code. People are watching you, not just me or any other person. Everyone will now nurture the dream of trouncing you in 2020.
Okay.
But that's a separate matter altogether. You can't justify an unreasoned order. You have been a reasonable man, a bureaucrat. How can you justify an unreasonable order? Because you have got the power and that's why you should issue such order? You cannot. There is a question of principle of natural justice. Did you give this person a single hearing? Did you give this person a single hearing before having this kind of recalling order?
No, let me tell you something. Manojit and Aparajita. No, 1 second. I want to come in. Manojit, I want to come in. Let me tell you something. I was writing down a few words, phrases while both of you were speaking, right?
Please.
I took down some of the words. Arrogance, immaturity,
Please.
Behaving, etc., etc. It just went on, and I'm only saying.
Not my words.
No. I'm not saying anything. I mean, everybody's hearing, but I'm saying. My point is to Rajat. Rajat, is it Rajat and Subirda? Because I have about 4 or 5 minutes. I want to bring them in. Rajat and Subirda. Now, is it going too far now? You know, because it hasn't even been like maybe 2 weeks since this government has come in, and we've seen so many flashpoints. Right? This is just the beginning.
No, Niranjan, this has not been 2 weeks. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This has become a habit of Mamata Banerjee.
I'm talking about
Please
this.
Understand.
I'm talking about this term, Rajat.
No, No, this term is in continuity with her previous term. You should not look at it in form of two different terms. What I'm seeing, and a lot of people in India would be observing, is that how Mamata Banerjee is behaving has just gone way beyond any logical sense of, competition between two different set of ideologies or models or whatever you want to call. What she is doing is really dangerous for this country. Why don't you get that? I was listening to Subirda. He's clearly mentioned that she doesn't have a national ambition. Good for us. We don't want a leader who is so mercurial in her attitude, coming in and occupying seat of power in Delhi and trying to play around with every single principle that are underpinning the India's constitution. You need to understand that she needs to have some level of patience. She needs to do some her own chintan, listening to her heart as to where she is going wrong. What all she is doing these days, you see, she has had a bitter battle. Nobody challenged her for several years, so she had that sense of overconfidence and a halo around her, which she believed is going to perpetuate all throughout. Here she forgot that there are the larger principles of constitution that she absolutely has to adhere to. Instead of mocking the governor of West Bengal day in and day out, you look at every TMC spokesperson, you look at their Twitter handles, how have they mocked the constitutional head of the state? It is actually shameful. And this attitude is going on and on. Every Tom, Dick and Harry of Trinamool Congress comes in and shreds the constitution before our eyes. And none of us well-meaning Indians are out there to even condemn anything that she is doing. And she is becoming the darling of the left liberal people who are trying to control the narrative one way or the other. See, look at Telegraph newspaper. The kind of narrative that they are trying to peddle out of Kolkata, they believe that the whole country is going to fall for it. I'm sorry, no. I have studied in Kharagpur. I know what West Bengal is. I've stayed there for 5 years and I understand very well. But what she is doing is, even the left and the hardcore communists also had never tried doing it. She is setting an absolutely worst precedence that no other chief minister has fallen down to. I have about 75 years of India's governance.
So Rajat, so I have about a minute. So let me go across Subirda. Subirda, look at the other side right now. Dharna at the CBI office, protesting transfer of officers by the Election Commission, refusing to cooperate with the Centre on IPS officers, protesting transfer of IPS officers in March 2019. Now, obviously, there is a non-stop conflict. Now, as an observer of how things have panned out, now this protest culture also can't go on always. So, what do you think? In your opinion, where you think this is going to stop, Subirda, or is this going to get worse?
There is a protest culture and there is also a provocation culture. Now you are selectively trying to target people who are implicated in Sharda. Mukul Rai is fine, Subhendu Adhikari is fine, they were all there in Sharda, in Narda also. They are let alone because they have gone through the whitewashing machine of the BJP. Others are targeted. Now you are trying to actually specifically target a chief secretary who has been a very good officer, who was acceptable even to the left before, and to Mamata Banerjee because he's a professional officer. You're dragging him into a fight. So you know what? Let me tell this very clearly. Immediately after the elections, you then, rake up the Narda thing. Now you're fine. You go ahead. The CBI has all the rights to proceed. But these guys are not going to run away. Why do you have to arrest them if you are just filing a charge sheet? Just file the charge sheet, and if the court summons them, they will go there. But you want to drag them to court because there is a vendetta culture which is perpetuated from Delhi by people who are in power there. Now, if they are trying to do it, then Mamata Banerjee seems to be the right answer for them because they are violating all constitutional principles. So Mamata, you know what? This is, in Bengali we call it shote shotan choma chore. A Bhadra log would not be able to stand up to this kind of thing. But Mamata, because she is not the standard Bengali Bhadra log, she is from the underclass. She is fighting back. I don't need to understand my intellectualism from you, okay? You don't interfere. Beech mein mat bolo. Please remember this. Please remember this. And secondly, lastly, Niranjan, let me point out. You talk of federalism and all that, it's a two-way process. If the father does not behave properly, the son also revolts. ठीक है? ये both side का चक्कर है. You can't, perpetuate a politics of vendetta, and you will expect that everybody will fall in line. And this is Bengal you're talking about, okay? Which has a tradition of, standing up.
Bengali, what do you say?
Intellectual
See,
cover
Dada, please, I need to interrupt you here. I absolutely have to. What is this cover that we are Bengali?
I have 30 seconds. I have 30 seconds.
You have to.
What kind of an argument is this? What kind of an argument is this?
You have
Please be quiet. You can't go out on this stupid rant that, oh, we are Bengali and we can do anything that we want to do like. What is this, Subirda? What are you trying to prove here?
Okay. No, this is not how we picture the debate to be. Subirda, Rajat, this is not. No, 1 second. I don't have time. You know what? Thank God I'm out of time. This is not how we expected the debate to be. 1 second, Rajat, not needed. Subirda, Rajat. Okay, no, not needed, Rajat, pull back. Aparajita, Rajat, Professor Manojit Mandal, Supir Bombay, going by the tone of the debate, this is not something that is going to end. Not something that is going to end, even though we want it to. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. Okay, coming up next. Promise to get you reports from across India. Republic TV team getting you reports from the heartland on India's COVID battle. Coming up next. Stay tuned.